Going down the DH gate rabbit hole, especially with all the tariffs going on, and seeing the ungodly amount of money I've spent on designer over the years has me pissed. As a former sneakerhead, I guess maybe I still am, but we used to look down on people that would buy DH gate shoes because they're not real and you could only wear real shoes. And then getting
Hey,
into
Segovia, back with another video. Hope everyone out there is having a damn good weekend, y'all. Happy Sunday. Best day of the week, in my opinion. I got some carne asada I'm about to throw on the grill. But before we do that, we got a good video we're going to get into today, y'all. So make sure you guys sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
It ain't no way. $10, $10, and $10. Always $10. We have 7 colors. Look, apricot, brown, pink, green. Green, black, and coffee. This is a warehouse. If you need, please contact me.
I am in my local dealers, and y'all can remove these alarms off these bags because China has exposed y'all, and these bags aren't worth $800, $900. Everybody know that they are worth $2. So y'all might as well take the alarm off and mark them down and stop trying to scam folks.
It's funny, y'all.
The Chinese takedown of luxury goods is wild right now because luxury goods are a huge source of soft power for the West. Soft power is power through things like culture, music, even language. Like US TV shows, that's a form of soft power because it makes the US aspirational and desirable in some ways. So with luxury brands, Fendi, Prada, Gucci, these Birkins, it creates this aspiration for the West, or aspiration to be European in a way, showing that Europe is this gold standard of quality. But when China's revealing that 80% of anything you buy that's Gucci is made in China, that over 60% of anything that you buy from Prada is made in China, that the only difference is that they send it over to Europe and then they stitch on a made in France or made in Italy little label, it's the ultimate pulling the curtain on the wizard in the Wizard of Oz and showing that there actually is no real magic and power in the person who's controlling Oz. I think it's going to be really interesting because there is such a stigma of something that's made in China. There's this perception of lesser quality in the West, but when you reverse that paradigm, when you show that all these goods that you thought were better because they came from Italy or France or wherever, when actually, in actuality, it comes from China, you're forcing consumers to reckon with why they make choices. So if consumers are going to start questioning the perceived worth of luxury goods, consumers are going to then realize that luxury brands are just high markup middlemen. They're just peddling an idea of something versus an actual quality good. And you can just then cut them out and go to the source. And so I think what China is doing right now, by shifting this perception of soft power, by taking back soft power, by showing real power in infrastructure and manufacturing, we're going to see a real flip in a lot of things, whether it comes to labor market, whether it comes to manufacturing, whether it comes to who buys luxury goods and perception of luxury as well. And so I don't know, I'm just in it for the ride here.
Going down the DH gate rabbit hole, especially with all the tariffs going on, and seeing the ungodly amount of money I've spent on designer over the years has me pissed. As a former sneakerhead, I guess maybe I still am, but we used to look down on people that would buy DH gate shoes because they're not real and you could only wear real shoes. And then getting into designer, where I've bought so much Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, all of these big brands, that we kind of look down on people that will buy fake, what we consider fake from DH gate. And now to find out that stuff is the same stuff that I could have been buying for $100, but I spent $2,000 on it, this makes me sick. I knew I should have put that money into an investment property or something to make me money, but I just wanted to stunt.
Crazy.
Now I'm going to be living by what I tell my clients, to not worry about designer. Put that money into real estate.
500
Like it's mind-boggling. Like they didn't know this. They didn't know that these clothes they're spending, purses they're spending $5,000 only cost $10 to make. Like they didn't know that. I thought everyone knew that, but they were still doing. They really thought that the company that is selling them 5,000 is maybe making $500 profit on it. It's crazy, y'all. Like this has been known, right? Driving a Mercedes, like you're just paying for the emblem, right? Like it's crazy, y'all. It's crazy that people are that asleep. And is it going to change? No, because you know why? Their influencer they watch is going to still be wearing it and still be getting the girls, and the girls are still in the mansion and the fancy cars. So it's nothing's going to change, y'all. This is just one of those things that come and go, that go viral, that we react to, that we put on here, and we go back to living the same life, y'all, because people are so asleep, y'all.
Apple assembly person in China makes $500 a month. The average Apple employee focusing on more high-value things like design, store management, makes $200,000 a year here. Mm-hmm. We want to wear Nikes. We don't want to make them. Yeah. We have outsourced low-wage jobs overseas such that we can create more profits, more investments, and create higher-wage jobs. If these tariffs hold, your iPhone's going to go from $1,000 to $2,300. To make an iPhone in the U.S., it would cost $3,500. As a result, the threats of these tariffs take Apple stock down the value of Walmart in 3 days. Mm-hmm. If these tariffs hold, 80% of toys under the Christmas tree are from China. The average Apple.
There's a lot of speculation there's going to be a really, really big tsunami.
Yeah, see, there's some shit happening.
There's a prophet, Ryo Tsuki. She made all of these different prophecies and they all came true. One of them being one day there's going to be a virus, a pandemic. Yeah. And everybody's going to go into quarantine. That happened. Yeah. She said it's going to disappear and come back though in 2030. So that's one of the prophecies she made. Okay, one of the predictions. Yeah. But another one is she predicts in July of 2025. Yeah. Because I wanted to go to the Philippines, fam. I wanted to go to Japan this year.
That's in 3 months.
In July, yeah. But this prediction is for July 2025. A huge tsunami is gonna hit Asia. Really? Specifically around Japan and Philippines area.
Oh my God.
We'll see what happens. Yeah. But the things that she predicted, if she's right,
I usually don't believe in this stuff, but the Japanese woman who's predicting a massive tsunami this July 2025 also predicted world events way before it happened. In 1992, she wrote that Princess Diana is going to, and then 5 years later, on that exact day, Diana passed. Then in 1995, she wrote again, in 2020, we're going to have a and then in April, it's going to disappear, but it's going to come back 10 years later. So mark your calendars for that one. Now she's predicting a massive tsunami this July 2025. And it's going to be 3 times bigger than the one Japan experienced in 2011. And it's not only going to affect Japan, but also the Philippines, Taiwan, Indonesia, and other places. Now, with all of these earthquakes happening, it's starting to feel a bit real. But what do you guys think? Coincidence or there's something more?
I was watching this documentary today. It's a new James Fox documentary about a UFO landing in Brazil in 1996. Holy shit, it's incredible. I had no idea that there's a city called Varginha in Brazil. And in 1996, according to everyone who was there, according to medical records of people who were there, they blocked off, the military came in, cordoned off the area. They recovered a crashed UFO. And there was living creatures that people came in contact with. And one of them was this tiny little thing that this guy carried. And he carried it to wherever they were going to examine it. And when he carried it, he got whatever was on its skin. It had like a slippery kind of skin. It got into his body and infected him. And he wound up with this horrible general infection. He wound up dying. His body shut down. His immune system shut down. His body didn't know what the fuck to do with this alien thing that he was interacting with. There's real records of this guy contacting this thing, grabbing it, carrying it in. All these people witnessed it, and then this guy winds up with this insane infection shortly thereafterwards. That's all.
Look at Pelosi. She's never made more than $179,000 in a year.
What does she make behind closed doors? What kind of deals does she make?
$120 million. What? So she's worth an eighth of $1 billion, and she's never made more than $179,000 in a year. If you do the math on that, most people just don't do the math. She would have had to been in the Senate 3,367 years.
I'm just saying, when you have money like that and you're a politician, you're bored.
She pays for nothing. She's allowed to do insider trading, which should be completely illegal. If you made $179,000 a year, you'll never be a millionaire, much less worth $120 million.
So somebody said, how do you get your minerals and vitamins on a daily basis without taking pills? You eat from nature. You eat from food. You know, find food sources of things that you're looking for. Let's say you're looking for vitamin D. You got tremolo. Say you're looking for magnesium or selenium. You got pearl popper. Say you're looking for your trace minerals and fulvic acids. You got shilajit. Let's say you're trying to feed your brain. You got lion's mane. You know, look at the foods and what they resemble, and then look at the organs of your body and think of what you should be eating. And same when you go, you know, if you're going to the grocery store and you pick up liver, for example, you eat raw liver so that you can turn on your liver. You're eating something which is resembling that organ so that it can turn that area on. Same with walnuts. If you look at a walnut, an organic walnut, it looks just like your brain. So what is it going to do? It's going to feed your brain. So think of just every organ that you have, or the organs that you possess, and think of what I need to eat to feed those organs. And you have meridian lines. So for example, when you feed the spleen, you also feed the eyes. It's all interconnected. So if you start to address, how do I feed my pancreas? How do I feed my spleen? How do I feed my intestines? How do I feed my skin, my eyes, all of these things? You start to see that it's all interconnected, and then you can feed it that way.
El Paso, Texas, who saw that strange thing flying in the sky, and then it sprayed and it opened up in a circular motion and disappeared? I know we're near a military base. We can't be the only ones that saw it.
That's not the moon, right? It's moving. Man, it can't be a plane with lights. The planes have like red. Look, it's switching. Yeah, recording.
What was this, y'all?
What is it? It has to be something. Spaceship? It's moving hella fast. Oh, what? You saw that?
I was just outside smoking a cigarette on my stoop when I was in the East Village, and all of a sudden I was like, that's weird. 3 roaches walking by in the daylight. That's kind of weird. You don't see that a lot. Within 5 minutes, falling off the buildings, our superintendent came out and he was like, what's going on? We saw him like landing on his shoulder. He was freaking out. And then we went inside, came out a couple hours later, and there was thousands of them dead on the street. And I go, what happened? He goes, oh, that's what they do in New York. They're probably trying to sell a building, so they bombed it for roaches, and it just sends tens of thousands of them out into the street. Probably millions.
And I'm told that Justin Bieber is particularly being tortured in arbitration at this moment. Like I said, they want to destroy his family because it is the reason that he has had the strength to walk away. And it is, they essentially think that Justin Bieber is not allowed to walk away from Hollywood in the same way that Kanye was not allowed to walk away from Hollywood. And you do not understand what pressure these people go under when they try to expose these things. It is very sinister. I want to be clear that based on everything that I am learning, first and foremost, if you are a person that knows more about what is going on behind the scenes, the person who came to me was very fearful of naming the executives that are involved, similarly trying to control every piece of Justin Bieber's life, allegedly. But I can tell you that from what I am understanding, if you are not praying for Justin Bieber, you should be. I personally have serious fears for both Justin and Haley. We have seen how the story goes. They need to leave Los Angeles. They need to leave California, full stop. I think Kanye made the right decision, albeit a bit too late, albeit after Carly Pasternak sent him to the hospital the first time. But from everything that we've learned in our Chaos book about how they control, and even through the Diddy lawsuit, the LA Sheriff's Office, the LAPD, the courtrooms, the judges, how they can create a media lie. That's why that book is so important, because it shows you how they can even completely lie about a murder, okay? A series of murders, as the Charles Manson murders were, because they control every tier of Los Angeles. Justin needs to get out. And Justin, if you are watching, I am begging you and Haley to get up and to move your family somewhere outside of California and Los Angeles, which they completely control. And if you guys are watching this and you have inside knowledge of this, if somebody wants to pass me court documents, I will report on it. I literally do not care. I'm over it. Like I said, evil can't win anymore. You can leak them to me, whatever it is that you have. Tips at CandaceOwens.com. If you are a person who, like the person who brought this story forward to me and was able to prove that they had an inside track into it, if you just have a guilty conscience, if you played a role in this and you are recognizing right about now that God ain't having it, like God is just not having it in 2025, you can share that information with you. I will protect my sources to the very end. And, you know, to Justin Bieber, if you are watching this, I also want to say they can contract whatever the hell they want, but the reality is these satanic type contracts mean nothing, because God is the creator force, and, you know, they can't contract talent. They actually can't contract talent. If the creator force lives within you, if you're a godly person, it is the biggest lesson of my last year and so is you can rebuild it, burn it to the ground, let them have everything, start from scratch, okay? All you need is yourself. We've proven this over and over again, a microphone and maybe a guitar.
The jar that you brought last time, do you have it on you now?
I keep it with me. Let me tell you something about water. A lot of people go, water is kind. I'm telling everybody at home do this. You think I'm crazy? Take a glass of water. Take 2 glasses. Take one glass, say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and put it in the freezer. Take another glass and say, you bitch, I hate you. Talk to it like your baby mama or like Charleston White, and put it in the freezer. The one that you yelled at gonna ball up and have like a lot of knots in it. And the other one gonna be smooth. That tell you that water, it holds consciousness. So what this water does, if I put it in the room, right, and it stays level, I know that everything is level, is okay in that room. But when it start balling, bitch, I look for the demons.
Oh, okay.
What you mean 17 people in Atlanta came up missing from an Indeed interview? Well, who the fuck is doing the interview? Who is getting these people's information and setting up interviews and taking people? And where the fuck are they putting them? What the fuck is going on? Y'all stop going to websites, random websites, and applying for jobs. If you're not able to apply for that on their website, I don't even bother. Furthermore, I just go through a recruiter. I don't even find my own jobs. Oh my goodness. And the funny thing is, I'm not seeing any reportings on this. I'm hearing this from the people of Atlanta. Like, somebody do an investigation and then tag me. Y'all be safe out here. It's not that serious for some fictitious money. That money is not real. It's not worth your life. Cost of living does not exist because it does not cost to live. But you're going to lose your life because of the cost of paper. Please stop playing with me.
Did you see the dragon skull that they found in Romania? Apparently someone was digging a well and stumbled up on what looks like a dragon skull at the bottom of this well. And this sent me down a rabbit hole. The Chinese use dragon bones for medicine. Now, this dates back like 5,000 years ago. Not only that, but the dragon is the only animal on their astrology chart that would be considered missed. All the other animals are out there, and it's odd that the dragon is even on there. The fact that dragons have been talked about through all of history, all over the world, it seems like everybody's connected with these dragons. I find it odd how hard it was for other cultures to communicate with each other, but not only that, I find it weird that one of the subjects that's going to come up is be like, did you hear about them dragons? Because I doubt that's one of the things you're going to talk about to a completely new culture. But I don't know, maybe the dragons are out there and we just don't know it. Maybe that's the ones that live beneath the earth. Everybody keeps saying lizard people and it's actually dragons. It's freaking dragons controlling everything. Anyways, hope you all have a great day.
There's two things in life that I wish we were told earlier. And one is, if you want to make money, you got to follow the math. And I think most often we're told things like follow our passion. And I think that's pretty bad advice. I think instead we should look to where are most people rich? What makes most people rich? So I kind of go to the data. I realized people that have money have one thing, ownership. So the data is really clear on this. 70% of millionaires are self-made, which is interesting. I used to think maybe you just inherit it. Did they just get lucky? And then 68% of millionaires have some form of ownership. They have actually bought a business or have equity in a business or built a business. If you don't have ownership, you're probably never going to be free financially. You got to get some skin in the game.
I just saw this video showing satellite images of the prison in El Salvador that ICE is sending all of those people to. And they zoomed in into this little corner and you can see what looks like a pile of bodies and a whole lot of blood. So tell me what you guys think that looks like to you. Folks, this is your 2025 concentration camp right here.
Watch this video and tell me if you think the soul would transfer to the new body.
This is going to blow your mind. A startup company called BrainBridge announced today that they believe that they will be able to successfully perform a head transplant surgery in the next 8 years. The way that this would work is you would take a person with a perfectly healthy and active brain, but their body has cancer or paralysis, and transplant it to a brain-dead donor body. What's crazy is that they said that by doing this, the person that's receiving the new body would still be able to maintain their memories, cognitive abilities, and consciousness. They say that the brain could last several hundred years if it had a good working body, and that might be a potential in the future, but that this would also give people with different ailments a second chance.
Hold on. You got to stop interrupting and let him finish.
The tragedy that's been inflicted on Gaza is orders of magnitudes greater than October 7th. Somebody broke onto your property and killed some of your family members, and you want to go kill this guy. If he goes back to his apartment building, and you know that there's women and children in that apartment building, and so your move is to blow up the building, what you would be charged with is murder in the first degree. Cold-blooded, premeditated, intentional murder. And you could sit there and tell the judge, I didn't want to kill all those people. Why would I want to kill all of those people? I just had to kill that one guy. But that's bullshit. That's not what counts. You did it intentionally. You dropped a bomb knowing that there were women and children in that building. You're taking an action knowing that these innocent people are going to die. Then that is, by definition, intentional.
Baby, this one you know is bad. When they put men in your gate so you don't steal, baby, they meats. Oh, girl, this got to be bad, Lord Jesus. Help our people, Lord.
He explained what the Loch Ness Monster actually is.
What is it, just a big fish?
No. Oh. Well, kinda. Not really. What they would see in pictures is something like this, right?
Okay.
There's something that sticks out of the water really rarely, and it's a rare thing that happens, but it is natural. Sometimes a whale would get really, really horny and stick its piece out. And it would stick out like this, but it looks weird. Here, I'll show you.
Yo, it's just a whale's piece?
Yeah, it's a whale's penis, fam. Just like sticking out. So check this out. Whale. It's a crazy thing to search up right now.
Whale.
Look at this, look at this. Looks like the Loch Ness Monster, bro.
Oh, yeah,
Doesn't
that
it?
is.
You know what I mean? So imagine seeing that.
Yeah, you don't know what it is.
Yeah, imagine seeing that, and especially seeing that at a time where you don't really have explanations for shit.
Yeah.
You'll think that's a creature.
Fam, we don't know who the fuck that is.
Yeah,
too,
you'll think that's probably a creature.
This guy got pink beef, fam.
That's crazy.
Got pink beef. Ew.
Look at that, right?
Ew.
Especially from far away.
Yeah.
And at the time, they didn't really have color pictures, so that could literally just be that.
A UFO supposedly, allegedly crashed in the desert in the American Southwest, and the claim was that there were alien bodies that were discovered. There was an Army Air Force guy named Marcel who was the first person at the wreckage, and he kept it a journal, and he was allegedly silenced by the government and prevented from talking about what it was that he saw. I think they walk among us.
When you put it into context like that, that is a scary thought. These beings or entities or whatever they are light years ahead of us technologically. To put it into context, it'd be like a little kid with a magnifying glass, shining it on an ant, and we're the ant. You guys think, is this why they've covered it up from us for so long? because they're literally scared. Or is there another agenda like Project Bluebeam or something? The guy talking in a video has been studying this stuff for over 30 years.
After I left the party, there's 4 FBI agents waiting for me in the hotel room. And my mom's there and she's like, tell them what happened. And I looked at my mom, I go, are you really trying to go at Michael and use me for a money grab? That man did nothing but be hospitable, kind, loving. And I said, nothing happened. I said, Michael was flirting with girls right in front of me.
Why is it that Israel is above criticism from everybody? Someone explain that to me. When you could criticize literally every other race, you can criticize every other religion, you can criticize every other government, but if you say it about this one government, you're somehow the worst person in the world. And I don't know about you, bro, but that doesn't foster trust with most people, okay? Most people are smart enough to understand that, you know, when the person trying to play like they're innocent is actually forcing people to not talk about it, it's pretty clear that there's some lying going on.
The tariffs are the distraction. There was a CEO in that Hudson River helicopter crash. U.S. airstrikes have taken out an intelligence chief. Israel is escalating strikes in Lebanon. Stock market is still crashing on Wall Street. The U.S. president has signed a bill to nullify an IRS crypto broker rule. Connecting global headlines to end-time biblical events. From China outlawing missionary work to Israel threatening Iran. Things are getting accelerated, as in they are pushing to move things forward to bring the Antichrist on the scene. The military buildups in the Middle East, the U.S. military deployments. And for the church, the body of Christ, this is not bad news. This is not to scare you. This is good news. This is more of a spiritual battle than a physical battle. I love you. I hope you accept Christ as Lord by believing in your heart and confessing with your mouth out loud Jesus is Lord, and believing God raised his only son from the dead.
I just found something really odd about the helicopter crash that happened in New York. Again, if you're not familiar with the story, there were 6 people on board. The pilot, 3 kids and their parents, Augustin Escobar and his wife, and they both held high positions at a company called Siemens, but we'll get to that in a second. They had just landed in New York City that day, so they wanted to take a tour of the city, so they decided to go on a helicopter tour. Now, just 15 minutes into the ride, the pilot called in and says he needs to refuel, which to me is a little odd. I mean, I don't know much about helicopters or the tours in itself, but 15 minutes in, whatever. It was only supposed to take 3 minutes for them to land, but they never did. The helicopter came apart, the propeller just came flying down into the water. To me, that's the strangest part of it all. How does a propeller just fly off? When the reporters asked the CEO of the tour company about the helicopter's maintenance, he said that's something my director of maintenance handles. The director of maintenance declined to comment, and maintenance records are not publicly available, and the NTSB restricts what companies can disclose during an active investigation, so fair enough. Back to the husband and wife who passed away during the crash, Lord rest their souls. The husband, Augustin Escobar, was the president and CEO of rail infrastructure at Siemens Mobility. His wife was the global commercialization manager at Siemens Energy. This is a massive company, and coincidentally, they're currently in a legal battle with VMware, now owned by Broadcom. Broadcom filed a lawsuit against Siemens on March 21st, 2025, recently, accusing them of using unlicensed VMware software. Both companies have refused to comment on the case. Now, I'm not saying there was any foul play because we're talking about people's lives here, but there's a lot of just weird things that happened during this, and I'm curious to know what you guys think about it.
Clothes we buy are no longer cotton. We buy polyester now. If you did a little research, you would begin to realize that natural fibers are good for the body. When you wear polyesters next to your skin, your body doesn't like that. Well, just because you don't break out in rickets or rashes or whatever from wearing polyester, you don't think about it because you've been doing it all your life. You're going to continue to do it. Try to avoid them. It's not always possible not to wear polyester. I do it too, but I try to make sure that I wear, merino wool is good next to your body. Cotton is good. But even they've already played havoc with cotton because they're picking the cotton plants. What I'm trying to say is try to become more conscious. It's not a big-time job. Just every day you learn a little bit.
The steaks from Applebee's are microwaved and they are thrown on the grill for a charred look.
There is no secret menu at Starbucks. If you're ordering drinks like the Clint Eastwood or the Bloody Tuxedo, they're just going to get annoyed with you and put decaf in your coffee. If you like the rice from Chipotle, the secret is that they put half lemon, half lime juice on their rice. Former Chick-fil-A employee says that all of the food is actually really fresh, with the exception of the waffle fries that come in frozen. They bread the chicken themselves, they squeeze the lemons for the lemonade, and if there's any extra Cool Wraps at night, they get to take them home. The delivery fee is not a tip for the drivers, so tip your drivers. A $7 tub of popcorn at the movie theater costs 9 cents for them to make. The bread from Macaroni Grill would come in frozen, and then it would just sit on a shelf for 2 weeks at room temperature, so imagine the preservatives. At Chili's, desserts like the molten lava cake and the paradise pie come in frozen, and if your food is not warm enough, they just put it in the microwave. Also, people ask about the queso dip recipe, and they said it just comes in a bag, so don't ask them. Former Subway employee says the food there is actually very fresh, and they would continue to eat there even after working there. Even though the dough at Panera Bread comes in fresh, they're actually really good ingredients that they have. A former employee says that they donate all of the leftovers, and they still consider Panera Bread to be a really honest company. This just says don't eat at Golden Corral ever. Former Domino's driver says he only got paid $3.15 an hour. He had to use his own car and own gas to deliver the pizzas. So once again, if you live in America, tip your delivery drivers.
Yes. When the street lights come on,
that's when you knew.
In the 80s and 90s, what did it mean?
You could look up and see that light flicker on and be like, I gotta go. You could hear it start to turn on. We felt the fear of God from our parents just by a light coming on. Like, I didn't need my dad to yell for me, which he would have. I'd have fucked around.
You'd have
found out. And I'd have had to be like, oh shit. And then I had to sprint home.
And why is it that you can hear your parents' voice from the other side of the neighborhood?
I can still hear my dad yell my name.
William! Until that point, you hadn't had a drink of water all day unless it was from a water hose.
Yeah,
you had barely eaten. You had breakfast that morning, cereal, and you were out until that street light came on.
You had, a couple of them bad kids that didn't have that rule, and you'd look at them like, I gotta go.
I gotta go.
I don't give a fuck what y'all do. Y'all starting a new game, I'm out.
Like the good days, y'all. Like we used to sit there for hours and just throw a football up at the street light trying to hit it, right? We used to just get by doing that. Now they're not even outside no more. It's a trip when I see people outside. I was outside all the time. Good old street light. That was
Because
a
you
spot.
need to understand there's a world of difference between United States and America as a country. In 1878 to be exact, there was a privately owned corporation incorporated called United States Corporation. And it was stipulated in the corporation papers that anyone who would work for that particular corporation would be called a citizen, not an employee. It's a privately owned corporation. It was referred to as United States. So today, if you're conducting business in this country and someone asks you if you're a citizen of the United States, and you say yes, because you perceive the question is, are you lawfully in this country to do business? And you say yes. They didn't ask you if you were a citizen of America. They didn't ask you if you were lawfully in America. According to international maritime admiralty law, they ask you a question. Are you, of your own volition, out of your own mouth, testifying that you are a citizen of the United States? The United States is a privately owned corporation. It's a privately owned company. And if you say, yes, I am a United States citizen, now that makes you an employee of a privately owned foreign corporation.
You're on the point of like sort of how sex has always sold and it's getting more and more overt. But there's this other aspect that I've been noticing, and it's OnlyFans. And that OnlyFans, at first, it was so easy for people to paint it as like this great thing where they're going to empower the creators and they're going to make the porn industry safer and they're going to like let the women be in control. And then OnlyFans started doing PG content where they would take porn stars and OnlyFans creators and they would have them do normal TV shows. And this is happening right now. So it's like a travel show or like a cooking show, but it's like a porn star doing a cooking show so that then you can have this porn star on TV on mainstream daytime television. And you can have your 5-year-old, your 8-year-old, your 12-year-old watching a porn star cook food. And it's totally normal. And that is like Subversion 101 is start to just blur the lines more and get more and more people, make it normalized, make it part of culture and society, just trying to bleed into our schools and into our like as though it's just normal. And I pray that we are waking up in time.
Most insane coincidence in history. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John F. Kennedy was elected to Congress in 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. Both were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives lost a child while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both presidents were shot in the head. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, who assassinated Kennedy, born in 1939. Both assassins were known by their three names, both names composed of 15 letters. Lincoln was shot at the theater named Ford. Kennedy was shot in a car called Lincoln, made by Ford. Both in Oswald were assassinated before their trials. And here's the kicker: a week before Lincoln was shot, he was in Monroe, Maryland. A week before Kennedy was shot, he was with Marilyn Monroe. And Lincoln was shot in a theater, and the assassin ran to a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and the assassin ran to a theater.
They're bringing back the woolly mammoth for what purpose?
That one is for a plethora of reasons, but the main one is to combat climate change, because woolly mammoth stomping in ice returns the Arctic tundra to more of what it used to be, which is like an icy plains as opposed to a wooded area. And it's complicated. You can read about it, but long story short, by them knocking over trees and crushing down the snowpack, which creates like an igloo, a warming effect, that can cool the earth up to 6 degrees, which is a lot. Which slows down the melting of the permafrost, which is what's releasing so many carbon emissions into the atmosphere in the Arctic. So it's a whole cyclical thing that helps combat global warming.
What kind of benefit does the company get out of that?
They will make billions and billions of dollars in carbon offset credits if they're successful.
What is that, a government type of funding?
Carbon offset credit is if you can prove that you are combating the amount of carbon emissions that we're putting into the air, then you get paid a credit. And so, yeah, it's I don't know. I don't think it's government. It's more like global.
Government.
Somebody told that. Somebody told Puff, Pac gotta die, Big gotta die. And Suge Knight gonna go to jail. You know, these people plan 25 years in advance.
Mm-hmm.
Had Pac and Big still been alive today, come on, brother. You and I both know how strong they would have been.
So you're telling me doctors go to medical school for 8 years. I walk up in the office as a 21-year-old. I'm 25 now, but as a 21-year-old, I walk up in that office and I'm like, hey, I'm feeling really anxious. I'm really struggling with like all this different, mental stuff. Can y'all like direct me, through the proper channel? And they're like, actually Prozac. You've talked to me for like 2 minutes. Like Prozac, like that's a great place to start. And I'm like, no, like I'm actually asking how to fix my problems. I'm just curious. 8 years of medical school to throw Prozac in somebody's face after 2 minutes? Just a question.
I think we all know how to fix our problems. At least I did, right? I remember when I went to my psychiatrist, I told him, I'm very anxious lately. I'm very anxious. Okay, let's put you on this. And I was like, no, before we do that, I know what I need to do. I need to quit drinking alcohol. I got to get back to being more active. Next time I see you in 3 months, we'll touch base pretty much, right? Came back, it was gone, right? So I feel like we all know what we need to do to get the anxiousness, the depression. I'm not going to speak on really like bipolar, schizophrenia type mental illnesses, but even then, I know things I could do to make it better. But I've been listening to a Harvard professor that's treating a lot of mental illness with diet. And one thing she said that she was taught, which is true, right, is we don't know what these medications are going to do. It's a gamble, right? Like when I talk to my psychiatrist and she asked me how I'm doing, she's like, okay, you're doing good. We're not going to change your medicine. Like if I was doing bad, we're going to try something new. Like, I don't know if it's going to work. Instead of every 3 months, we'll probably switch it to 2 weeks, so hopefully you're good in those 2 weeks pretty much. We're taking a gamble, right? So the best thing you can do is which I'm very trying so hard to do, is a carnivore keto diet, y'all. That's the thing. Not saying I'm never going to take my medicine again. Maybe if I can bring the dosage down, to 10 milligrams, 20 milligrams, that would be nice. But um, it's a gamble, y'all, with these medications. It's a gamble. And thank God I've never had something that made me turn to the worst, but I've had a lot of side effects. I've been that zombie where I can sleep 15, 16 hours a day, but I make myself get up and, try to be a human being. But the one I'm on now, I've been, great for 7 years on it probably. But, one thing I'm trying to do, and I've known this for a while, is use diet as my medicine, y'all, because that's a gamble that they do.
We want everybody to switch to electric cars, so that way we can tax you per mile you drive, because it was never about the environment. It was about figuring out new and inventive ways to get our money from you. And by our money, we mean your money, for now.
Well, there's 3 levels to the craft. There's the central level that the hatch lets you into. This is where there are 3 seats. In the exact center of the craft, there's the reactor that powers it. Surrounding the reactor are 3 gravity amplifiers that provides the power and the field that propel the craft. On the level underneath that are the actual waveguide antennas, horns, whatever you want to call them, that actually emit the gravity wave. They hang down in a triad at the bottom level of the craft, and they are movable. At the very top part of the craft, there are small black portholes, we've called them on there. Now, I don't know exactly what's on that level, but I firmly believe that that's the navigational system, and those porthole type devices are actually sensors that determine the craft's orientation in space.
The real danger in the Amazon would be swimming in the rivers. You have all manner of creatures that want to eat you in those rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not hyperbole. You have, the piranhas are the least of your concerns. You have huge caimans, black caimans, right? Basically alligators, crocodiles, whatever they're kind of in the middle, caimans. And usually they're kind of, like an American alligator that size. But they've been known to get really big deep in the Amazon. And then you have the most dangerous thing in the water is the electric eels. Now, they're not going to eat you, but as the electric eels, and they get really big. I killed a big electric eel and got electrocuted doing it. But the really big eels, all of the eels, as they're hunting, they're swimming in the water and they're discharging electricity into the water. And you can hear it if they're near the surface. It sounds like sizzling on the surface of the water, and it stuns the fish and they float to the top, and then the eels will eat them. Well, if you're in the way of that discharge, you get zapped and you drown, and that's a big problem in the Amazon.
Do you know how much the state of Texas pays for their STAR test, or state standardized test? For a 4-year contract, I just want you to think of what that number could be. How much do they pay to have this test created and then administered? For a 4-year contract, they paid $388 million. $388 million spent on a test that literally does not even accurately assess the level that the students are on. And teachers still have to fund a large majority of their classroom. And we can only write off $200 on our taxes? What? I can't.
Pelosi owns a hotel up in Napa. I think it's a hotel. Yeah. And she has had this one property that has made $100,000, lost $100,000, and you all have to file this every year. And in it, you have your income. Made 100K, lost 100K, made 100K, lost 100K. The year that COVID happened, they made $5 million plus in profit. And this is income. It's not necessarily loans or anything. This is income. You lose 100K, you make 100K, COVID happens, the loans go out, your business now makes $5 million. Year after that, you go back down to making 100K, and then making 100K, losing 100K.
There's a new trend forming, and it's living in your car.
This is my home.
I live in my car because the cost of living.
I have been outpriced at the rental market.
I hate paying rent. A new camper car.
I live in my car. I've lived in my car for 9.5 months now.
The numbers are increasing a lot year in and year out, and governments around the world, mainly in Western countries, are starting to look at the situation and wonder if there's going to be a whole class of people that just live in their vehicles. A lot of places are worried because rents usually just keep increasing. It's just going to get worse and worse, and wages can't keep up. If there's any kind of collapse, we're going to see a huge surge in car campers filling car parks around the whole of the Western world. Stats show that over 21 million people in the United States spend 30 to 50% of their whole income on housing costs. In Australia, the median home value increased by $230,000 in 5 years, representing a 40% increase. In the United Kingdom, towns like Glastonbury, there are over 300 caravans living in a town with 4,000 homes, giving it the highest caravan to home ratio in all of the UK. It's actually not a bad idea, really. My next video might be coming to you from the back of a Ford Ranger.
Y'all see what they discovered on Google Maps? This tower, or whatever the fuck it is in Area 51, y'all. So it's just in the middle of nowhere. Do you see this shit? That joint is huge too. People saying it's not a typical tower. As you can see for yourself. That shit don't look typical. That shit don't look normal. And why is it in the middle of Area 51? What the hell is that building for? So I was hearing what people were saying about this joint. They talking about it's probably a radio tower or a radar testing tower. Like, come on. When did you ever see a radio tower or a radar tower that looked like that? Look at the size of it, y'all. And like I said, it's in the middle of nowhere. It do look like a power source, though. It look like something they used to summon something from another dimension. Look, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what they building over there. But if y'all ever see a weird light coming from that joint, don't say I didn't warn y'all. Because I'm telling you, I don't think that shit normal. This shit was making major headlines. And you know what they said? As always, hey, don't worry about it, y'all. It's nothing to be worried about. So if it's nothing to be worried about, what the fuck is it?
When was the last time you saw a woolly mammoth roaming around the forests of Tennessee?
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. But 12,000, 13,000 years ago, you had several species of elephants living here in Tennessee.
Interesting.
You don't think about elephants, you think Africa, India, but you don't think North America. An elephant is a proboscidean, meaning it has a long snout, a long nose. Up until the end of the last ice age, there were 4 species of proboscideans living in North America. Think about that. They're all gone now. What happened to them? Well, there's different theories. One theory, which I think considered to be ridiculous, is that they were hunted to extinction by nomadic tribes of hunters. But given that the estimates for the human population at the end of the last ice age ranged between 5 and 10 million, estimates for total number of mammoths, 12 million.
Wow.
We really did go to the moon, but when we went there, we were greeted by off-world visitors, and they said, you can't be here. Like, you're not allowed to be here. The moon isn't a rock, okay?
Okay.
The first time I ever went over to the moon, I actually going off planet, often we're going towards the moon. And I'm like, oh, cool, it's a meeting on the moon. No. It was a meeting inside the moon.
Have you remote viewed Antarctica yet?
Oh, I have. And that's where another remote viewer kicked me out.
Oh.
Like, he found me, and I was like,
yeah, they don't mess around there.
they do not mess around there.
You guys think of this girl?
I can also remote view off planet.
Whoa.
And go to different spaceships or different planets, or just tap into the sort of quantum world of this reality, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What other planets caught your interest?
So mostly I go visit different motherships. So that's sort of my vibe. I don't usually go to a lot of planets. I have been to planets.
Okay, so here's another question for everyone. Everyone's got to listen to this question, please. I need all your answers. Okay, McDonald's sells 6.5 million burgers a day. A day, right? they getting all that meat from? Like, what's going on? Where are they holding all these cows? Furthermore, all the supermarkets that sell meat as well, where are all the animals stored? Like, we don't get to see where all the animals are stored. There should be some live feed that we can watch, so we know that when it's coming to our supermarkets, we know what's happened to it, right? Because we don't know what they're doing with all the meat. We don't. And the veg and everything. I mean, when I drive past the milk factory, I don't hear no cows. They got cows in there. I just don't think we've got enough animals on this planet, let alone this country, to be feeding everybody that much. No one ever thought about it. Please let me know your answers in the comments section.
What would happen if you give up sugar for 2 weeks? The first thing you would notice is that your face would change. It would go from being rounded and puffy to a more slender, sleek face. The reason you lose weight when you cut sugar is because your body will switch fuel sources and start to burn fat cells. Body fat and sugar are the two primary fuel sources for your body, and given the opportunity, your body would rather burn sugar instead of fat. When you deprive your body of added sugar, you give it a chance to burn stored fat. Starting with your liver, 4 of your organs benefit significantly from cutting sugar. First, your eyes improve as sugar deteriorates the retina, leading to conditions like diabetic retinopathy. Second, your kidneys suffer less inflammation, reducing issues like sugar or protein in your urine and severe cases of diabetic neuropathy. Third, your arteries heal from sugar-induced damage, lowering the risk of vascular disease and improving cholesterol levels. Lastly, your brain and nerves benefit. Reducing sugar decreases inflammation, improves cognitive function, and alleviates numbness in your toes, enhancing your mood and overall brain health. If it is hard for you to give sugar up, consider having an herb that can detox completely and boost the proliferation of mitochondria in stem cells to remove sugar from your body. Shilajit is the plant that I recommend when people usually ask me to help them lose weight and boost energy.
Neil deGrasse Tyson has been doing
obnoxious.
He's been like staunchly defending men and women's sports, and his entire argument is literally we shouldn't separate by gender, we should separate by testosterone levels. His argument literally he gets to the point in the conversation where his argument turns into, why do you care?
Huh?
And the dude just goes, Neil, you built your entire career on being a scientist, asking questions about shit for the sake of asking questions about shit because you want to know the answer. And you're just asking me why I care. You should be ashamed of yourself. Just fucking obliterated him.
Wouldn't it be crazy if the helicopter that fell into the Hudson was sabotaged? No, not really, but indulge me. Wouldn't it be crazy if it's extremely rare for a tail rotor to just completely fall off a helicopter mid-flight? Yes, it can happen with like extreme pressure changes, but this thing was just doing a straight shot, low altitude. I mean, I guess someone mentioned a Jesus nut. I guess that's a very defined helicopter thing. So no Jesus nut would just be left loose unless it was done intentionally, right? Having said that, there's also witnesses that claim to have seen a drone that was maybe in the area. I don't know. Has New York seen any weird drone sightings lately? I don't know. Maybe. Wouldn't it also be crazy if the Coast Guard, as shown by friend of the channel, War Deadpool, shout out over on TikTok, the Coast Guard was about 2 miles from the crash site when it went down. And you can see here, it just flew right on by. Just sailed right on by there. I guess he had better things to deal with. He could have responded in like a minute. Furthermore, did you know that there was a helicopter pretty much following the one that fell? This one, right here. God, it'd be interesting to see footage that helicopter might have. I don't know. Or hear what the people on it have to say. And I guess it'd be really crazy if the guy who died from Siemens had worked on a deal with Turkish Railways to boycott Israel.
Today was my last day working for the IRS. What a relief. Thank You Jesus. God. The things that I've learned working here, the amount of money that is made off of people's taxes is insane. And I didn't even know about
Such a scam,
taxes
y'all.
like this before
Ridiculous.
I started working here. Like, for instance, did you know that an extension to file your taxes is not an extension to pay? So if you owe money, but then you think you're just going to get more time by doing an extension, you're going to get a failure to pay penalty. Did you know that? I had no idea. And then even if you pay it late, then they can still come back and give you a penalty later. And then if you don't pay it, then you're going to be getting interest, 7% interest, penalties, everything. I have some programs to tell you about, irs.gov website, what to look for. I have information that I feel like I need to share, even though I don't really want to be doing these videos. This information is important. And you calling the IRS starting Monday is going to be a nightmare. I can already see it.
There is a global experiment that's performed on 1.6 billion people across 70 countries twice a year, and it's called daylight savings time. Now, in the spring, when we lose an hour of sleep, we see a subsequent 24% increase in heart attacks.
What?
In the fall, in the autumn, when we gain an hour of sleep, there's a 21% decrease in heart attacks. So it's bidirectional. Wow. That's how fragile and vulnerable your body is to even just the smallest perturbation of sleep.
1 hour.
1 hour is
That's
all it takes.
insane.
Yeah.
The side of Coachella that nobody talks about, like the fact that it's like one of the biggest SEX weekends in the industry in Hollywood. Like, all y'all see on social media is your favorite influencers and all that and brands turning up at the festival, but nobody talks about what is happening on the other side of Coachella, how men are getting mansions, all the hoes is popping out, and it's like rabbits that weekend. Everybody turns into horny rabbits that weekend. Like, everybody knows that. And that is why I refuse to go to Coachella unless it's with a brand. Because if you just go to Coachella just to go to Coachella, the perception of that,
While we're f***ing around the Middle East, the Russians and the Chinese are getting real cozy. Huh. Now, the politicians, they want you to think this is about ideology. It's a lot of horse. Give me your phone. Go ahead. Rare earth elements. Whole f***ing world runs on this shit. Who controls all of it? China.
You could be selling your cans for more. Your competitors certainly are selling their beverages for more. Why not increase the price and therefore increase the profit?
We're successful. We're debt-free. We own everything. Why? Why have people who are having a hard time paying their rent have to pay more for our drink? Maybe it's my little way to give back.
What did they just find? The pyramids of Giza. They found structures, like he said, bigger than the Eiffel Tower, bigger than the World Trade Center, bigger than any other structure. Burj Khalifa, the highest building in the world, it's taller than that, by far. It goes down 1.5 miles long, these structures that they found. They use a new technology called ERT, which is a new technology that they can scan the earth using frequencies and vibrations that gives you a exact image of what's happening. Now, these structures have coils around them, okay, that go all the way down. What other famous river in Africa is near pyramids as well?
Oh yeah, that now.
Oh, the Nile River. So these are hydroelectric conductors. This is why they're near water.
There are pyramids on Mars. Elon Musk recently posted a square structure that has been captured by satellite images on Mars. He says we need to send astronauts to go investigate. Bob Lazar is the gentleman who has been viral for years for working at Area 51, for exposing certain things about UFO technology, which is proven to be facts. I ask people, like, how is it possible that the same type of technology is seen in the sky 2,000 years ago on cave paintings is still being seen today?
Do you know how they got their deal with Russell? They recorded Russell with a girl in a certain situation. And when they wanted it, and when they wasn't gonna let them out of the situation, they said, "Hey, Russell, we got to take." They was out in 24 hours. So that lets you know that these games of control and power have always been there. So, hey, okay, put a girl on him. He think he popping. Tell her leave her phone on.
See that?
Next thing you know, man, they got that sitting in the room with you when you negotiate.
Do you remember when that video went viral of the microwave plate and people realizing that the indentation on this plate that sits in the gear that turns the plate in the microwave is the same shape as the radiation symbol? Well, the crazy thing is, a lot of people are saying, it's no big deal, man, it's just because the gear in there. But it is interesting that it could be any other shape than the radiation symbol. But you know what's crazy about microwaves is that it's about the only appliance that you have never seen a commercial for. Yet it's in all of our homes, unless you're like me and you got rid of your microwave. But there is something so crazy about microwaves, so much more than it's a frequency that excites the molecules and makes it warm up. But you cannot speak about it on Instagram. In fact, if you ask Google, are microwaves safe? You have to go to page 100 before you see any variance of an opinion on the matter. They are all absolutely 100% use it. It's great. It's an amazing invention. Never mind what Russia did in the 1960s regarding microwaves.
Dumb. Never seen a microwave commercial. I've seen a microwave in a commercial for like appliances and they scan by it, but I've never seen an actual commercial just for a microwave. Mind blown right now, y'all.
I found this out recently. This man was a cosmonaut for the USSR. His name was Sergei Krikalev. He was the last citizen of the USSR.
Okay.
He said the Russian space station was like his home.
Couldn't get enough of it.
He was sent up there for a mission May 1991. And while in orbit, he witnessed the Soviet Union dissolve. And what's scary...
He's in space this time.
He's in space and he's up there and all of a sudden, Soviet Union is dissolved.
It's kaput.
And so the space program was split then between Russia and Ukraine. They were scrambling and like they almost pretty much forgot about him. And at the time, the space station down in Russia, they went on strike for pay So people weren't even working.
Oh no.
He ended up spending, I believe, 311 days in the space station, not knowing when he was going to come back.
Almost a full year. Are they in communication with him at this time?
They are, but it's like brief and like non-consistent because the Soviet Union's dissolving. So there's just chaos everywhere.
No one knows who exactly like can claim him, and
he eventually gets a ride back into Russia, but he was the last citizen of the USSR.
That is so stinking cool.
Remember, the Earth was spinning, right? And the sun is spinning, and the moon is spinning. So how the do Alaska have sun for 30 days? Because you listening to me? Because like you know how we did the thing, right? But how does Alaska only have the sun for 30 days?
You saying like
with no darkness?
Why was Alaska not affected by the orbiting
of the world?
That's a good question. I'm not gonna lie.
All right, family. There you have today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed today's reaction. If you made it this far, you know what to do. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet today. Got a lot on my mind. Not in the best of zones, moods. Sorry if I didn't chit chat as much today. We'll be getting back to that, y'all. But this is Segovia. I'm signing out of the Man Cave. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow on the next one. Hope everyone out there has a good Sunday. Later.